Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Just about half that work week in the rear view mirror. Long weekend on the horizon. Football on the horizon. We are fired up to be here. You know, I said back on Monday this week would drag and we'd look up and be like, it's only Wednesday. Officially, that's going on here. I mean, I've been really busy today and I'm still looking up going, it's not Thursday yet. It feels like it could be Thursday, but it's not Thursday. It is Wednesday. Got a lot to get to. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. JD Picquel from On3 Sports, covers college football nationally. He's with us in 15 minutes. It is a What If Wednesday. That's at 1:30. Got some submissions via Twitter. If you got them in the Bayou Ford chat, we'll listen to those as well. I'm going to take some stock of the teams in the SEC West and SEC East coming up in hour number 2. Going to give you my predictions for their win totals over and under. Kind of went back and forth on a couple of teams. But we'll go through all of them, all 13 outside of LSU in the East and the West in hour number 2. We got some audio from Jaden Daniels, got some audio from Brian Kelly. So locked and loaded for a fun 2 hours here on this Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll start with a little bit of news from the SEC's teleconference this morning. Every coach meets with the media for about 10 minutes on the teleconference. A lot of it is not all that impactful, but one question was brought up by Scott Rabelais today of The Advocate to Brian Kelly. Because of something that Brian Kelly had said earlier in the call, saying when we get John Emery back. So Scott Rabelais said, well, is he available for the game?
You mentioned John Emery. What would you say his status is for the game?
Unavailable.
That answers that. So John Emery not available for the game against Florida State. I can't think of a journey through college quite like John Emery's. Because when someone is unavailable throughout a large portion of their career due to like injury, then you just kind of chalk it up, well, you probably can't count on him because he's hurt all the time. But in this case, John Emery's not hurt. He's ineligible at times and suspended at times and doing an internship instead of practice at time and taking spring away from football to go do academics. And I've been very clear when I talk about John Emery and his decision this spring to go do things academically as opposed to being out on the practice field, that's a great decision because we've seen John Emery here for 4 years now, 19, 20, 21, 22. I don't know that I would forecast a 10-year NFL career for him. Probably going to have to go into the workforce. What's a benefit there? An education. Go do it. Plus, you've been here 4 years. You don't really need spring football. I was all for that. Still am. I'm a little bit, I don't know, surprised is the word, but it raises my eyebrow and go, he's really not available for the first game? Like, why? And is he available for the second game? Or Brian Kelly seems to think he's going to come back, but it's just odd that he's away from the team as often as he is for non-injury reasons. But from a football perspective, which is where I spend 98% of my time talking about what goes on between the lines as opposed to what's going on outside of the lines, LSU's running back room is not quite as deep as it was. The good thing it was ridiculously, absurdly, generationally deep with 8 scholarship guys. And now you look up and you're 4 days from your first game and John Emery's not available and Armani Goodwin is doubtful for the game. He's not going to play. And you kind of take those 2 guys off and you realize that Trey Holly is a freshman, probably not going to get a ton of run. And that kind of narrows things down from where LSU can expect production from their running backs. And it's mainly going to be the veterans. Brian Kelly has insisted upon this. He's spoken to it numerous times. The veterans generally separate themselves when it comes to the running back position and should early on in the season. So that's Noah Cain, Josh Williams, and Logan Diggs. Now, Josh Williams has missed some time in fall camp, has been banged up a bit. We're led to believe that he's doing okay. I actually did speak with Frank Wilson today. Candidly, I go in there for my weekly assistant coach interview for the pregame show as an LSU employee. I'm not there for guarantee. I'm not there to break news. I'm there to do a 3-minute interview that's recorded for the pregame show and get out of the coach's way so they can go to work. They got pretty busy, full schedules. So I'm not there to kick back and grab an iced tea and, get some inside scoop from the assistants. That's not the purpose of my visit. I'm very upfront when I talk to them. I say, hey, I'm going to come in, 3-minute interview. I'll be right out of your way. And that's what happened today. So it wasn't like I sat down and said, hey, what's the deal with Emery? Or like, hey, who's starting a running back on Sunday? Like, that's not why I was in there. It's not what I did. I did my 3-minute interview. I said, y'all travel safe and go get him this weekend and head it out. But one of the things that he did tell me in the interview, because I asked directly, like, y'all got a lot of running backs. Like, how do you coach that? He said, look, I tell them the same thing every day. Our depth chart is etched in sand. Have a good day. You have another good day after that, another good day after that. Good things will happen for you. But you have a bad day and you're an old player, doesn't mean the young guy can't take your reps. They know that their playing time is going to hinge on performance. And when you have very old players, Noah Cain has played in 38 college games. Josh Williams has been here for 5 years. Logan Diggs is a third-year college player. Trey Bradford has been to 13 colleges. He's been back and forth all over the place. Like, when you've got guys that are old, they tend to be a little more mature. I constantly make this comparison because it's front of mind and it's very, very easily related to my audience, but I go back to this baseball team. Who are the guys that were saying, it's not really about how much I play? It was Cade Beloso, 5th-year player. It was Hayden Travinsky, 4th-year player. It was Gavin Dugas, older guy. Now, you heard some of that from some of the younger guys as well, but more so from the really old guys. So if, Caleb Jackson rips off a couple of huge plays and is ticked off that he's not playing, that makes a little more sense. He's 18-year-old instead of a 22-year-old Noah Cain. But the older guys are going to play the majority, and they're not going to bicker over playing time. It's just going to be on who produces. Noah Cain, as I mentioned, played in 38 college games over 4 years. Last year for LSU, averaged 5.5 yards per carry. He scored 10 touchdowns. Nothing wrong with that. Logan Diggs last year carried the ball 13 times a game for Notre Dame. Over 12 games, he averaged 5 yards a carry, scored 4 touchdowns. Josh Williams averaged 5.5 yards per carry last year. He scored 6 touchdowns. I don't know if critical is the right word. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the wrong word. I've been upfront about my feelings on the running back room, that I think that LSU's fine at running back. I don't necessarily think they're dynamic. I don't think of Noah Cain as a dynamic player. I don't think of Josh Williams as a dynamic player. And right now, I don't think of Logan Diggs as a dynamic player, although he has busted some long ones for Notre Dame. Game against South Carolina comes to mind. So the good news is that LSU has a good offensive line. They've got a quarterback who is a threat to run the football, and you have to account for in your numbers game on defense. And because of that, I think LSU will run the ball fine on Sunday. Do I think there's a chance Caleb Jackson garners more carries as the calendar progresses? I do. Do I think it's going to happen on Sunday? I don't. I think it's Cain for 13 carries. I think it's Williams for 9 carries. I think it's Diggs for 9 carries. I think it's a couple catches for all of them. And I think in the end, when the dust settles, they run for 4.4 a carry. And it's just kind of get what's blocked and move the chains and count on the big plays in this offense to come from Jaden Daniels with his legs, with his arms, and the wide receivers and tight ends that this group has. John Emery, to me, is the biggest home run threat of the crew, but by no means did I think here on a Wednesday that when we get to Sunday that John Emery was going to carry the ball 19 times for 176 and 3 scores. That's not something that I certainly would have envisioned. Could I see him taking a swing pass like he did against Alabama and cutting up field, making a couple guys miss and going for 40? I could. Could I see him running through some arm tackles and busting into the end zone like he did against Auburn? I could. But Logan Diggs made that play against South Carolina, the same one that Emery made against Alabama. Noah Cain can bust an arm tackle from the 7-yard line and get into the end zone. He scored against Florida State last year. All that this news tells me is that the decision on who to play is a little easier for Frank Wilson. I don't think you lose a ton. You just are what you are at the running back spot, which is a competent, veteran, mature group that should know where to be, know how to pass protect, know how to catch the football, and potentially make a couple of plays, but more often than not, get what's there. Just a little bum for John Emery that in his final year of college football, one of the biggest games of the season in its entirety across the country, and certainly of this weekend, he's not available to play. But you hope that he's taking care of everything he needs to off the field. You hope that he's healthy, and you hope that you see him next Saturday against Grambling, or whenever the case may be. But if you missed it earlier, Brian Kelly did say to the assembled media on the SEC teleconference, John Emery is unavailable this weekend for play. I want to send congratulations out to Tori Brown. Tori won $500 cash from the Back to School Bucks giveaway. Thank you to everybody who participated in the Back to School Bucks giveaway, always presented by Citizens Bank and Trust. Busy Wednesday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's a What If Wednesday. If you've got what ifs for us, throw it into the YouTube chat presented by Bayou Ford. Throw it to me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. Had an interesting one that kind of tries to put a little hypocrisy at my feet. We'll talk about that one at 1:30, and we'll get my thoughts on every SEC team's win totals. Yes, I'm actually going to be able to take credit for Vanderbilt getting one win. I'm going to go ahead and just take that advantage and see what happens the rest of the way. I am going to keep track of all the things that I do with the SEC over-unders and see how we do at the end of the regular season. Got some Jaden Daniels audio we'll get to as well in the second hour. But when we come back, it's our guy JD Picquel from On3 Sports. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years in this business, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. As David told me once, we do it soup to nuts. You don't have to call 4 contractors to do a full bathroom renovation. You call one. You call David Duvall at One Bath and Closets, and he handles it the rest of the way. I can promise you he's going to put together a plan for you. His crew's going to show up on time professionally. They're going to do the job. They're not going to cut corners to rush to the next job. They're going to do right the first time and leave the competition behind. As I mentioned, it could be a full-scale bathroom renovation. It could be just a tub-to-shower conversion where they take that bathtub out, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Totally changes the look and the functionality of your bathroom. And it may not be you. It may be a loved one in your life that lives by themselves, that the bathroom may cause some safety hazards. If they need a walk-in tub, if they need some guardrails around the shower or tub area, David Duvall and his team can handle that. They do it all the time. Go to onebathandclosets.com, look at the great work. The pictures are right there. Look at the testimonials and then request that free consultation at One Bath and Closets. The website, one more time, is onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Jaden Daniels meets with reporters. Brian Kelly on the SEC teleconference. We got Russ Mitchell returning. It's Wednesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scrolling through the old Twitter machine during the break and saw some video of Joe Burrow throwing some passes at Bengals practice. That's a positive thing. Need Joe back in action for my fall Sundays. Without him, not as much fun. It's always fun. We get our guy JD Picquel from On3 Sports on Wednesdays. It is that time of the week. And we got football to talk about in the past and very much in the very near future. JD, how are you, sir?
Brother, I'm better now, man. We got week 1 here. We got the appetizer. It's time for the entree, man.
Let's talk.
Sunday night, a big one. Big one.
For sure, and we're going to get to it. Let's talk about the appetizer. Were you impressed with Notre Dame?
You know, I was. And it's totally fair to say it was against Navy. Like, that will 100% be, like, the curve that we should grade them on. But even so, man, like, Sam Hartman, Sammy football out there slinging it around. I mean, he elevated his receivers play. And he was just the epitome of dialed in. Like, if I had no idea who Sam Hartman was and I had no idea who he played for before, I would have said, okay, this guy's been in the system for a while. This guy knows his teammates. He knows, the timing of all these routes. Like, he looks like a seasoned veteran out there. And so for him to show up in a new place, new receivers, new offense, and to look like that, I think that's a very, very good sign, Hunt.
Well, you expected that kind of performance from Caleb Williams, and you basically got it. But a lot of people a little skeptical of the defense from the Trojans last weekend. Are you one of those?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. You don't want to put lipstick on a pig ever unless you're about to have some bacon. But, for me, I think there's a little bit of an overreaction syndrome going on with San Jose State and USC. I think you have to also acknowledge, like, that was a quarterback in his 6th year playing college football. Like, that wasn't just some slappy out there trying to find a way against that Trojan defense. So that's the first part, is it wasn't just a totally nobody out there throwing the football against them. I think also for USC, it wasn't necessarily a thing where they were maybe treating it like their Super Bowl, or maybe San Jose State was. I think you saw a lot of guys rotate in and out. I think you saw a lot of different personnel groupings, but the thing for me with USC is they have a huge runway before they even play anybody with a pulse. Like, they got Notre Dame, I believe it's week 7 in South Bend. And so you have 5 games where you can kind of figure it out, find yourself. what do we like, what do we don't, what don't we like. And so I think that runway in itself for USC leads me to maybe be a little bit slower to define them based on week 0. So if you don't like what you saw from USC, that's 100% fair. But to totally just define them as a defense that was the same as a year ago, I'm not there yet from that week 0.
I think for a lot of people, it's just, okay, it didn't look awesome against San Jose State. And then I look at the quarterbacks in the Pac-12, and you look at Bo Nix, and you look at Cam Rising, and you look at Michael Penix, and you kind of go, well, they are going to play some good quarterbacks. Like, you're going to have to show up. Does that change the math a little bit for the Trojans?
I mean, I think it has to. I think the big thing, too, from this past Saturday was you saw stuff that was just like a mental error. Like, we have coverage busts where wide receivers running wide open down the sideline before, the first half ends. Like, what are we doing here? And if we have that issue in October, November, pound the alarm, we got real problems because Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., they're going to slice and dice to the nth degree. But when it comes to, week 0, it's like, okay, it was a week 0 defense. Yes, they're figuring some stuff out. I don't think it's the finished product. I think it's more of a temperature as a starting point, which isn't great, but I do think that there's a lot of runway here, which doesn't overwhelmingly concern me just yet.
JD Picquel, The Hard Count on 3 Sports YouTube channel. You can catch content there each and every day. Speaking of Cam Rising, his team is going to play Florida in Salt Lake coming up on Thursday night. Whether or not he plays, I guess, remains to be seen. What do you think about this one?
Man, if you were to copy and paste in a Cam Rising from last year that was 100%, like, I would pick Utah, wouldn't even think twice about it. Now, with Cam Rising either A, not playing, or B, getting a less effective version you would imagine coming off of the ACL, I'm leaning Florida here. I'm leaning Florida because I think this defense will be a little bit deeper than they were a season ago. And I think the game plan for Florida, especially if you get a backup quarterback or a less effective Cam Rising, they're going to be able to dial it up a little bit here. You're not going to get a dual threat Cam Rising where he's going to run for 91 yards like he did against this team last year in the Swamp. So especially if Florida can throw the first punch and get up, let's say 10-0 in the second quarter, that's going to put some pressure on Utah to try and answer scores, and I don't think they want to have to do that. And also, if you get a lead, if you're Florida, you can kind of run the football with 2 of the best backs quietly, I think, in America, and Trevor Etienne and Marcel Johnson. So I think I'm probably in the minority here, but I'm leaning Gators.
I'm leaning Gators with the points for sure at this point, especially if Cam Rising is not going to play. What's more interesting, TCU trying to follow up a Magic season last year, or Coach Prime at Colorado? They'll see each other this weekend.
Coach Prime may be the most interesting man in college football, period. I mean, the whole thing is just such a wait and see. I think we talked about it before, Hunt, but we have no data point anywhere across college football history to compare to what he's about to try and do at Colorado this coming season. Go from 1-11, hey, this whole operation stinks. I need new players. I'm going to get new players. I'm going to cut the players that aren't going to cut it here. So let's roll. So, I mean, it's totally brand new, out-of-the-box kind of operation. I think TCU is a little bit intriguing as well. I don't think they're as intriguing as Coach Prime and company, to answer your question, but I think they're intriguing because so much was made about what they lost offensively, and that's totally fair. You don't just replace the Heisman finalist and Max Duggan and a first-round wide receiver and Quentin Johnston. But even so, Chandler Morris won this job out of fall camp a year ago over Max Duggan. He was the guy they wanted to roll with. They felt like he gave them the best chance to win football games going into last season. And then he gets dinged up, and Max Duggan gets the job and never looks back. But I don't think we should just overlook that. I mean, Chandler Morris was also a guy that Lincoln Riley wanted to come play quarterback for him at Oklahoma. And then Chandler Morris also, to put another point on his resume, I mean, what he did against Baylor in that 2020 season when he came in relief of, I believe it was, a Max Duggan, I mean, people in Waco still have nightmares of him looking like Johnny Football on that one Saturday afternoon and ending their college football playoff hopes. So all that to say, I don't think it's as much of a downgrade as maybe the college football public wants to make it out to be when it comes to the quarterback position for TCU, but there's no way it's more interesting than what's going on in Boulder, Colorado.
Well, let's keep it with the excellent quarterback checks out. What's the new guy got? Tennessee and Virginia will play this weekend. Josh Heupel's system loses Hendon Hooker, loses Jalen Hyatt. Here comes Joe Milton. Do you like the Vols this weekend against Virginia?
Like the Vols this weekend against Virginia. think they probably even cover that number. I think it's somewhere around it's over 20. It might be close to 4 touchdowns now. I have to double check. But, yeah, I do. And I think one thing we need to be on guard with this whole conversation around the system with Josh Heupel is I think the minute Joe Milton has success, there's going to be a lot of people pounding the same talking point of, well, he's a product of Josh Heupel's system. He's a product of him throwing the ball around the yard, and, he's just a benefactor of that. Joe Milton was benched in this same system not that long ago when Hendon Hooker came into the ball game and eventually took over. So I think if he does have success, we should make sure we give the fair amount of credit to Joe Milton for doing that. But I really do think it's going to be kind of a pick up where you left off kind of situation. Maybe they're not scoring 40 points a game right out of the gate, but I think when it comes time in November, he'll be firing on all cylinders, and I think Tennessee's going to be a force again this coming season.
Momentum's a funny thing in college football because it can go away in a hurry. South Carolina caught some of that late in the season last year. They opened with a pretty big one here with North Carolina and Drake May. Are you believing in Beamer ball in Columbia?
I'm buying Beamer ball, man. I'm buying Beamer ball, and I hope we see some special teams magic too. Because, week one, Hunt, there's always a little bit of an acclimation period, a little bit sloppy, some drop punts. Guys aren't filling their kickoff lanes the right way, and a big play happens. With how much he prioritizes special teams, I'm curious what factor that plays in this game. I love me some Drake May. I think he's one of the lowest drama players in college football in the sense that each and every Saturday he's going to bring it. We probably won't see Drake May just have a subpar outing this coming season. But even so, man, he doesn't play defense, so that's unfortunate for North Carolina. I think there's more ways for South Carolina to win than for North Carolina to win. If you're winning in your North Carolina, you probably got to score upwards of 45. I think South Carolina wins that one. And I think we see Spencer Rattler actually play a clean football game with his new OC, Dow Logan.
All right, the eyes of the nation all over the place. On Saturday, there's games all over the board. On Sunday, there's one, and it's LSU and Florida State from Orlando. We've been looking forward to this one really all summer long. Give me your early read on LSU and Florida State.
So, Hunt, this show is obviously broadcasted from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
That's true.
And I don't want to come on here and tell you how good Florida State is, and I don't want to tell you that they got Keon Coleman on the outside and Johnny Wilson. They have the number one returning production in the country. And I don't want to just sit here and tell you that Florida State's going to win the football game. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you that LSU, I think, is winning the game Sunday night. I think they are substantially improved from where they were a season ago. I think Harold Perkins and his presence will be felt in spying Gordon Travis. And I think if they can get the run game going with that running back room and not have it be such a Jaden Daniels heavy rushing attack like it was a season ago, a little bit of help from Josh Williams this year. I like LSU to open it up in the second half with play with those safeties, and I think it's close. I think it's down to the wire, but I think LSU makes enough plays late, and Brian Kelly gets revenge in Orlando over Florida State.
Are you buying LSU and Florida State as playoff contenders? Not necessarily national title, but maybe if you think so, but playoff legitimate contenders?
Yeah, without question. And obviously there's enormous variables on both sides of it, but if LSU were to drop this game, you feel differently about your playoff chances probably, just because you got to climb the mountain that is the SEC gauntlet. But for Florida State, even if they drop this game, if they run the table the rest of the way and beat Clemson twice, they're probably going to have a pretty strong case come Selection Sunday. So I think this game probably means more to LSU because of what they have ahead for the college football playoff. But even so, I think both these teams have a very legitimate chance to be in that conversation. Now, like you said, I don't know if I'm picking either one to win the national title, but I think they both absolutely have their sights set on that same goal, and I think it's realistic.
The Hard Count, it's on On3's YouTube channel each and every day. Check out our guy JD Picquel there and here every single Wednesday at 1:15. JD, thanks, man. Enjoy the weekend.
Appreciate you, Hunt. Enjoy the ball, man.
We will certainly do it. Actually, I'll enjoy Saturday's game, and you'll just know by the scoreboard if I've enjoyed Sunday's game. That's the way that generally goes. So appreciate JD for stepping in here and giving us a little bit of his time. Time to take a time out. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. Look, we know that cancer affects all of us, either a loved one or ourselves personally. And Ochsner and MD Anderson are teaming together to fight cancer. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in our state with a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards and treatment plans. And the physicians are going to have direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers. Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, they're offering groundbreaking research, innovative therapies, and clinical trials that are available to some eligible patients. And the best news is that the expert care is going to be available in 7 different locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge. And Ochsner and MD Anderson are going to work together to certify additional sites coming up in the future. If you'd like to learn more about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, we invite you to head over to ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756.
Join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. We're Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, downtown Baton Rouge. Carl Johnson from the Beau Rivage is with us. Colucci is with us. Matt Humans is with us. And we got college football. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, thanks to JD Picquel for joining us. In about 25 minutes, I'm going to go around the entire SEC, giving my thoughts on the win totals for every SEC team. We'll start with the West, and we'll transition over to the East, so looking forward to that. Got some sound we want to get to later on in this show as we are working towards the weekend. First half of that work week's right now in the rearview mirror. You're getting closer to a long weekend and a football weekend. But before we do anything, we got to play What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. What if you could see one concert, living or not living, all time?
I mean, I'll put the caveat out. I'm not a huge music guy. I've seen, like, I'm a country music guy, which makes people roll their eyes, but it's what I like. I enjoy it. And I've seen a lot of the Titans in that arena. So there's one name that pops into my brain. It's obviously going to be one I haven't seen. Like, I've seen Elton John, which was fantastic. I feel like I would like to watch Michael Jackson in concert. Like, I just, that show would be really something. I go to concerts in my world, which is country music, basically for a sing-along. Like, I want to sing the words of the songs, know it. Every country show is kind of the same. Run out there, hold the drinks up. Oh, y'all got your beers, whatever. And, like, it's just the same type deal. But Michael Jackson would be like a show. To watch him dance, sing, do the things that he could do, I feel like that's probably my answer. I might come back with something different in 20 minutes, but at this point, I feel like Michael Jackson's my answer.
Mine is Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I've heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I could not put a single song anywhere near the Stevie Ray Vaughan catalog.
Yeah, he died in a helicopter crash, very young, and he's considered one of the best guitarist of all time. I really like his music.
Can you give me a song? That's
Pride and Joy.
I got no chance.
All right.
I think a lot of people probably just got really upset with me, but
maybe it's okay.
I'm not a music guy.
Yeah.
Hand up. I don't know.
All right. All right. Next one here. What if today BRPD came to your house and gave you an MIP for all those game days in college that you roamed around campus with drinks? I mean, it was against the rules, right? That's from Twitter.
That is from Twitter. That is my reaction to the Mason Smith thing, where I said, look, it was against the rules. He did it. You gotta pay the consequences. Unfortunately, I'm struggling to see a massive difference in this hypothetical that's been laid out by Pepperoni Tony on Twitter, and my answer, if there's video evidence of me, with a beverage that I was not allowed to consume at the time, I guess I'd have to pay up for that. But as far as I know, that's been scrubbed from all devices. There's no evidence that ever happened. So I'm sure someone will run back to my Facebook and grab something. But yeah, I still stand my ground that, like, look, Mason Smith signed some stuff when that was illegal. NCAA found out about it. I guess you gotta pay for it. But well done, Pepperoni Tony, to pin that one on me. That's someone who went to college with me and is aware of what was going on then. So there you go.
What if this ends up really being a rebuild year for Alabama? Does Nick Saban actually stick around long enough to rebuild the program back to national championship status?
So, look, yes, because that would take 2 months to build the program back to national. You realize they signed like 8 5-stars this year. They don't have a senior quarterback. It takes 2 seconds. They are immediately a national championship contender. A rebuild for them would be going 9-3. That's so. It's not as if it's going to be a Napier situation where you show up and in year 2, everyone's still looking at the roster going, "What is this?" It's not even close to that. So I desperately hope Alabama goes 9-3 or 8-4 this year. I'm not going to, place a huge wager on that, but I would love it to happen. It's just the program is built and constructed year over year such that there is no real dip. I mean, we're talking about how disappointing they were last year. They lost 2 games on the road on the last play of the game to teams that were ranked in the top 10 at the time. There is no rebuild, so I don't know that I quite follow along with the question.
All right, moving on. The year is 2020. What if Jamar Chase plays all year and Terrace Marshall plays all year and Arik Gilbert plays all year? No Friday night shenanigans before season opener, and Brennan doesn't get injured versus Missouri. What is LSU's record after 10 games?
I think in the what-if history of LSU, there will be no more than the 2020 season. When you throw in the pandemic and Miles Brennan's crazy injury no one could diagnose, and the ability to opt out that Jamar Chase took and that Tyler Shelvin took and Terrace Marshall eventually took, and the Stingley injury or hospital visit, and like the nobody in the stadiums and the SEC only schedule, and like not playing Texas. There are so many what ifs. Like I could go back to a what if, like what if the Hurricanes never come through in 05? Does that team do something a little different? What if, Iowa State doesn't beat Oklahoma State? Like those are quick what ifs that have a direct answer. There are like 27 variables that happen to the 2020 LSU team. So look, I think if Miles plays the whole year and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall are there and Stingley is healthy and Eric Gilbert is there, like it doesn't look the way it did. What they finished 4-6, 5-5, and they had to win their last two to do that. It doesn't look like that, but they still had their issues. So I would say they would probably finish 7-3. I mean, they weren't beating that Bama team by my estimation. Who knows what happens in that opener? I couldn't tell you, but I'd like to change defenses. It still would not have been great. I don't think. Maybe 6-4. Maybe just a game better. I don't know.
Defense, I think, is really it was losing the guys on offense sucked, but the defense was the problem, really.
But if you add Tyler Shelvin to that, it doesn't help you much against Mississippi State, but it probably helps you somewhere along the line.
All right, last one here from the Bayou Ford chat. What if Jaden Daniels had gone pro and Nussmeier was starting Sunday night?
I would probably not feel quite as good. I think there would be more variables to your thought. Like you could envision something a little wilder. I feel like we kind of know what we're going to get from Jaden on Sunday. I think we're going to get a super athlete who completes a lot of balls in that 1 to 8 yard window, who does take a couple of shots and does a lot more good than bad. I think that forecasting what Nussmeier would do, given an entire week to off season to game plan, work with the ones, and go out there, I think less. So it might be a little more interesting, but I wouldn't feel as good about LSU winning the game if Garrett Nussmeier was playing quarterback and Jaden Daniels was not here. That doesn't mean I don't think LSU could win. I would think LSU could win. But I think that with Jaden Daniels out there, I feel better about LSU's chances. So that's how I am. I am right there. So appreciate you all in the Bayou Ford chat. Appreciate the folks on Twitter. Thanks to Jacob Beck for reading out some What If Wednesdays. I want to remind you that football season is finally here. You can make your picks now for week 1 of the 2023 1045 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em at 1045ESPN.com. Weekly winners are going to receive a Twin Peaks gift card, and the first place season-long champion, going to want to get a look at this, 75-inch 4K television and soundbar. It's the 2023 1045 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em. Twin Peaks eats drinks and scenic views. We come back, get some sound from LSU players from yesterday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
It's Kate Voisin, inviting you to join me, Coach Todd Black, and Coach Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. This week's special guest is Struma head football coach Sid Edwards. Louisiana Prep Weekly, wins and 8s at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. I know all this. I know the whole catalog. Stevie Ray Vaughan, is that right? Is that the right name? I couldn't remember. But I have heard this song before. Would not have been able to tell you it was Stevie Ray Vaughan, though. Good stuff. All right, to close out hour number 1 here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, we're going to listen to a little bit of sound from Will Campbell, yesterday Tiger, sophomore left tackle. I wanted to hear a couple of the quotes that he had after being named number 7. The first was a very common question that Brian Kelly's got. I asked Frank Wilson this earlier today that'll play on the pregame show, and Will Campbell was asked, all right, now it's game week. Last year this was new coaching staff, a lot of new players, new head coach. Seems like there's a little bit of stability now. Does it feel a little bit different in year 2?
It's night and day compared to last year. Just being used to Coach Kelly's process, all of what our expectations of our position coaches. Last year we didn't have to release any position coaches except the D-line, but we had all the coaches that are helping now around last year. So it's really not too many new faces right now, and knowing what to expect out of them and what to expect out of the strength staff, nutrition staff, all of that stuff. It makes the biggest difference in the world.
And Brian Kelly talked yesterday or Monday in his Monday press conference about there's a lot of things that he requires in his program that guys had to get used to, and now they're used to it. Like one of them, they have to fill out a questionnaire every day. I don't know if it's about sleep or there's something they have to fill out every single day, and now it's just kind of routine and they know to do it. And I think there is value in that, in just not everything being new, from practice to game planning to film studies to the day of a game to what's the expectation is, and now they all have a handle. That doesn't mean they're going to go win on Sunday, but I think they should play better. Because make no mistake, like, they didn't play very well last year in this game. They were awful on the offensive front and really entirely on offense in the first half. And the special teams was an utter disaster. Like, they played a poor game last year against Florida State. That's got to be cleaned up this time around because Florida State's veteran as well, and I would expect that they'll play a little bit better than they did last year. One position group that is just 100 times healthier than it has been over the last really 3 years is the offensive line group, and Will Campbell talked about the evolution of this offensive line.
You know, just having 5 guys that have played with each other now and, know what to expect out of each other and can trust the guy next to you. Getting last year, we grew as each week went on, like you said, and now this summer we grew even more. And I just feel like this year we're tighter than we've ever been, and we're going to work as 5 guys to 1 guy.
It's pretty difficult to envision an LSU offense that scuffles if those 5 guys play really well. If LSU's offense plays very well, there's just too much veteran talent at the skill positions for LSU to hit a bump. Like, they should be great offensively if they block. And the anticipation is that they will. Last year, they blocked nobody against Florida State. I went back and watched the game, I told you, on Monday night. And I watched some highlights again Tuesday morning as I was getting ready to talk about Jordan Travis. And as I watched those highlights, it's just a jailbreak on most plays. Now, a lot of it was verse coming off the offensive right side, but it's everybody, and they just couldn't block anybody. And that disaster of a performance made Brian Kelly and Brad Davis go back to the whiteboard entering the Southern game and go, all right, we got to move like 4 pieces here because what we just threw out there in that game ain't working. And it would stand to reason that at this point in the calendar, a year later, they're significantly more comfortable in their spots. That's really good news. And they're going to have to play really, really well on Sunday against a good Florida State front. And Campbell spoke to how good Florida State's front 7 can be.
They're a veteran group. They're old. They got a lot of 6 years, redshirt seniors. And, they do what they're supposed to, and they've been in that system. So they know exactly what they're doing. So I feel like that could give people problems.
That's Florida State's plan. And if they do, it's going to be trouble. LSU's going to need to run the football. They didn't at all last year in this game. And they're going to need to allow Jaden Daniels the time to get the ball down the field. Because we know how Jaden thinks, right? And we've heard that he's worked on some things and he's trying to take more shots. But if the pass rush starts to get home, he's not going to sit in there and wait on that. He's gonna move. And that's what Florida State wants. They want him to be indecisive, to be passive, to not be aggressive. Because if he's aggressive, that's going to put pressure on Florida State secondary with really good playmakers that LSU has. If he's comfortable and has time to survey the field and then take his shots, that's where I think you could see him. But if he's not, we know what we're going to get. We're going to get eyes that come off the field, that come down to the line of scrimmage, and a quarterback that's looking to run. And that limits what LSU can be on offense. You can't have that. You got to have Jaden Daniels comfortable, confident, and aggressive. And that starts with the play of the offensive line. We'll talk about Emery Jones and him dealing with Jared Verse tomorrow and certainly on Friday. And that's a huge key to this game. But it's really the 5 of those guys keeping Jaden Daniels upright and allowing him to go to work. Because if they do that, LSU's going to score points on everybody they play. Everybody they play. That's just the reality of it. So that's a little bit of information there from Will Campbell, who met with the media yesterday as LSU gets ready for Florida State. Fast-moving hour number 1. I'm anticipating that hour number 2 is going to move just as quickly here. Want to invite y'all to our 2 YouTube channels. We do this at the end of every hour most days. Hunt on LSU is where you can get all your LSU information. I opened the show talking about John Emery being out and what that means for the running back crew in Game 1. That video is going to be posted to Hunt on LSU. You just want LSU football content, Hunt on LSU. We'll have you covered. Appreciate a subscription there. And a like that goes a long way for us. On the Saints side of things, It was cut down day yesterday. They've signed some guys to the practice squad today. We'll touch on that briefly in the second hour as well. Hunt on Saints is all of our Saints content. If you're looking for Saints stuff, it'll show up right in your feed. Appreciate it if y'all would subscribe to Hunt on Saints if you could. JD Picquel was with us from 1-3 Sports in hour number 1. If you want that interview, you can catch it on demand on YouTube, on Spotify, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever you find your audio. You can find our interview with JD Picquel, as well as What If Wednesday. What if I could see one concert living or not living? I learned who Stevie Ray Vaughan was today. What a big day for me. That's huge. In hour number 2, we've got a lot to get to. We'll hear from Jaden Daniels, LSU's quarterback, on a couple things. We'll hear from Mekhi Wingo, LSU's newest number 18. And I will give you my thoughts on the win totals from each and every SEC football team. We'll start in the West with Alabama alphabetically. We'll rip through all those in the first segment. In the second segment, we'll get to the SEC East. I'll give you some of my thoughts. A lot of these, not surprisingly, are very, very close, but I do have my takes. So we'll pause for SportsCenter. We'll come back in hour number 2 on this Wednesday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Stephen Holder reports the Packers and the Dolphins both tried to work out a trade with the Colts for running back Jonathan Taylor. There is still trade interest in Taylor, but he'll be out for at least the first 4 games on the reserve PUP list. How is Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott really feeling about the team adding Trey Lance? ESPN's Dan Orlovsky says it would be understandable for Prescott to be annoyed.
When does enough become enough for a guy? You 3 years ago, you made me drag my feet through the contract extensions. When I feel I outperformed it, I was a 4th-round pick, and the tag. And so at some point, there's that reminder that I was a little bit disrespected during that process. And now this is another one.
Dan Orlovsky on Get Up. Mariners outfielder Julio Rodriguez is out for a second straight day with soreness in his left foot. Team USA finishes pool play 3-0 after a 110-62 rout of Jordan at the FIBA World Cup. Anthony Edwards with 22 points for the Americans, who now play Montenegro in the second round on Friday.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Half of that work week in the rearview mirror. It is a Wednesday, and we are working towards a long weekend here in the capital city. Appreciate you hanging out with us. All right, I'm going to go through the entire SEC here over the next 30 minutes. I'm going to go through every team outside of LSU and give you my thoughts on the over-under for said team in Vegas. So we'll start in the West, and we'll start alphabetically, and we'll go with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, you know Bama last year 11-2. Lose the former Heisman Trophy winner and Bryce Young, the number 1 pick in the draft. Will Anderson moves on as well. And their over-under after an 11-win season is 10.5. So for them to hit the over, they're going to have to go 11-1. These are regular season win totals, obviously. So quarterback's the story. I'm not even going to try to give you some sort of hot take or some huge explanation onto why people are looking at the Bama quarterback, but you ought to be looking somewhere else. It is the story. And this story sounds a little bit like back in 2016. Bama had Cooper Bateman, who was a highly thought of recruit that had come in and was kind of set to take over. But Blake Barnett was there as well. And then there was a freshman named Jalen Hurts. And Nick named Jalen Hurts the starter. And he fumbled the first snap he saw from USC against USC. Oh my God, Nick put a freshman out there. What is this going to look like? There was this quarterback controversy. They beat USC that day 52-6. And the Hurts guy was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. So this has been a competition, and it appears that Jalen Milroe is going to win it. You can't get anybody who covers Alabama, talks about Alabama from, on the radio. You can't find really anybody that suggests that Jalen Milroe is not going to be the quarterback. I thought for sure when they brought Tyler Buckner in that was going to be the guy. Doesn't appear that's the case. Jalen Milroe threw 3 interceptions in 53 attempts last year, which is not a very good ratio, certainly not for a Nick Saban team. He played the whole game against Texas A&M when Bryce Young was out, and he threw for 111 yards. He looked terrible to me last year. He runs like a horse. I mean, if you put him out at wide receiver, I think he was the best athlete on the field. I don't believe he's a threat to consistently win you games throwing the ball. Make no mistake, Bryce Young had to win them games last year throwing the ball. Now, their offensive line is massive. They're going to count on Caden Proctor, who is a true freshman, to play left tackle. He's a good one, but that's not something you normally do. We know Will Campbell did it last year. We know Cam Robinson did it at Alabama as well, but that's going to be their guy. But it's a huge offensive line. They got 2 senior tailbacks, Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams. They've got a 5-star youngster in Justice Hayes that's going to probably break out and be a really good player for them. They're going to try to pound teams into submission. A huge offensive line, a big quarterback with game-breaking ability, and probably the deepest stable running backs in college football. That's going to be the plan. Is that going to work this day and age? Well, if anybody can make it work, they're the ones that can do it. Kevin Steele comes in on the defense. He's got a big, old defensive line. Can Dallas Turner become a 10-sack guy? We'll see. He certainly got the NFL pedigree to do it. But it comes down to the fact that Bama's got to go 11-1 to go over, or 12-0. They got to go at least 11-1 to go over. And I look at games they could theoretically lose. They could lose to Texas. They could lose to Ole Miss, even though that game's in Tuscaloosa, and I certainly would not pick them to lose it. They could lose at Texas A&M. They could lose to Tennessee in Tuscaloosa. They could lose to LSU in Tuscaloosa. Now, the good news for Alabama is those 5 I just listed off as losable. I'm not really counting Auburn. I don't think State's going to beat them. The 5 losable games I rattled off to you, only one of them is on the road. That's at Texas A&M. So that's a nice break for Alabama there. But I'm going to go ahead and eat the forbidden fruit. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'm going to take Alabama under 10.5. They may go 10-2 again. I just don't think that's a 12-0 football team with that quarterback. And I'll take the under on Alabama. Arkansas, next alphabetically. They were 7-6 last year. Their over-under is 6.5. The key here for Arkansas is their offensive line is going to have to be great. Only 2 returning starters on that offensive line, but their top 4 wide receivers are gone. And they're asking to replace those guys with 2 low-level transfers. The 2 transfers are Andrew Armstrong from Texas A&M Commerce, which I never heard of, and Isaac Tesla from Hillsdale College, which is D2, and I've also never heard of. You know Rocket Sanders. You know KJ Jefferson. But you've got to block for those guys to be really good players. And they don't have Traylon Burks to bust you deep like they did 2 years ago, and they didn't really replace him last year with Dwayne Hazelwood. Now they're trying to do it with 2 guys from glorified high schools. That one is tough for me on the offense, even though I love KJ Jefferson. They got 5 starters back on defense, no Bumper Pool, no Drew Sanders. The problem is that 3 of their starters are from the worst secondary in the Power 5 last year. Now, I've painted you a pretty grim picture of what I think of Arkansas personnel-wise. I do trust their quarterback. I think they've got a great running back, and I think that Sam Pittman, being an offensive guy, will have his team ready to go on the offensive front. And the schedule, I think, is doable. I think they're going to beat Western Carolina. I think they're going to beat Kent State. I think they're going to beat Florida International. And I believe in week 2, they'll beat BYU in Fayetteville. So I think they win 4 games in the non-conference. That means to get over 6.5, I just need to go 3-5 in the league. Well, what games can I win? I can beat Missouri. I can beat Mississippi State. I can beat Auburn. Both those games are in Fayetteville. I can win at Florida, depending on what the Gators are. I can beat Texas A&M and Arlington. I've just rattled off 5 games. I need to go 3-2 over those 5. I don't feel great about it. I think they do it. I've got Arkansas over 6.5. Auburn was 5-7 last year. They are also a 6.5 over/under team. They've got one returning starter on offense. It's if you don't count Robbie Ashford, because he's not a starting quarterback. So basically their right guard is the only returning starter on the entire offense. The defense returns 8 starters. They're going to start 3 seniors and 2 juniors on the offensive line. Very veteran. And that's going to be blocking for Jarquez Hunter, who I think is a high-level SEC back. And then 5 has put 7, Brian Batty from South Florida, who was a big kick return guy from them, kind of a gadget guy. I think Hugh Freeze will find a way to use him. I trust Hugh Freeze's offense to create some stuff. Even if I don't think Robbie Thorne's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen, I think Hugh Freeze will figure a way to score some points, even though he's not calling plays. And their secondary should be pretty good. Now, to get to 6-5, I look at their schedule. They're going to go 4-0 in the non-conference. UMass, at Cal, Samford, and New Mexico State. That means I need 3 league wins to get to 7. I got to go 3-5. I look at A&M. I don't love them there. I look at Ole Miss at home. I don't love it. I look at Mississippi State at home. That's another toss-up. At Vandy, they should go win that game. So that would get me to 5 with my non-conference. And at Arkansas, I don't love. I'm going to say they take it on the chin. I'm going to go under. I think Auburn goes 5-7. So I've got Auburn under the 6.5. Maybe they go 6-6. I still don't get to 7 wins. Mississippi State was 9-4 last year. I think that's hard for some people to believe, but they were. And I think there's a chance that they could be pretty good this year. They might start 10 seniors and a junior on defense. Zach Arnett's coached that defense for a couple of years now. Last year, they held Ole Miss to 22 points. They held Illinois to 10. They held Arkansas to 17. Like, they had some pretty good efforts on defense, and that's a really old unit. And then on offense, like, am I going to really bet that Will Rogers is just going to be bad? No, he's going to rewrite the SEC record books. They got 4 offensive line starters back. I think Woody Marks, now that he's going to get a chance to run the ball a little bit instead of just being a swing pass guy, a shovel pass guy, a wheel route guy, I think he can carry the football. I kind of like the makeup of the roster. You've got to decide what you're going to be on offense, and that's going to be an adjustment, sure. But the non-conference, they're going to go 4-0. Southeastern Louisiana, Arizona, Western Michigan, Southern Miss. Like, those are wins. And I just got to get over 6.5. I only need 3 wins in conference play. They could win at South Carolina. They could win at Arkansas. They could win at Auburn. They could beat Kentucky at home. They could win at A&M. They could beat Ole Miss. I mean, I don't think they're going to beat Alabama and LSU in Starkville, but I just need them to win 3 of the 6 I rattled off. If I go 4-0 in non-league play, I beat Kentucky and Ole Miss at home, and then find a way to beat Arkansas or South Carolina or A&M on the road, I've gotten there. I got Mississippi State over. I think they may win 8 games this year. So give me Mississippi State Bulldogs over the 6.5. Ole Miss, they were 8-4 last year. Their over-under is 7.5. Here's some good news for Ole Miss. They got 4 offensive linemen back. They got Quinshawn Judkins back, who ran for 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. Both were school records. That's good news. I should be able to really run the football. I'm just not in love with Jackson Dart as a quarterback. Last year against LSU, 19 of 34 for 283 and a pick. Last year against Kentucky, who wasn't great on defense, 15 of 29, so about 50%, 213 yards and a pick with no touchdowns. Last year against Auburn, 9 of 19 for 130, threw a pick in that game with 3 touchdowns. Now, they ran it like crazy on Auburn, but 9 of 19. Texas Tech, he was 25 of 41. He threw for 361, but he threw 3 interceptions with his 2 touchdowns. I just don't think Jackson Dart's great. I like Lane Kiffin. I think Judkins is great. I think they'll run the ball pretty well. I'm not over the moon about Jackson Dart. Last year, he threw 20 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and he had the best running game in the league. Last year, the defense was a 3-2-6. They gave up 42 to Texas Tech, 42 to Arkansas, 45 to LSU, 28 to Vandy. They gave up 35 points per game in their last 7. Now, Pete Golding better work wonders with that defense. I do think they go 4-0 in the non-conference. I think they beat Mercer. I think they win at Tulane. I think they beat Georgia Tech. I think they beat ULM. Now I got to go 4-4 in the league to get over 7.5. I don't love them playing LSU in Oxford. I don't necessarily love them in Starkville. I think they're going to beat A&M in Oxford. I think that's a toss-up. I think they'll beat Vandy. I think they got a good chance to beat Auburn on the road. But I'm going to go under for Ole Miss. I think they could very easily go 7-5 this year. I'm kind of souring on a little bit of Jackson Dart and that defense. So we'll see. Last one's Texas A&M. They were 7-5 last year. Their over-under is 8.5 this year. This thing is going to come down to the offensive line for A&M. I firmly believe that. Other than the LSU game last year, which makes me want to throw up on this desk, on the laptop, on my notebook, on my phone, vomit everywhere thinking about that game. They didn't block anybody. If they can find a way to block, I'm telling you, if Jimbo's calling the plays or if Petrino's calling the plays, an offense that blocks, that has Connor Wigman at quarterback, Aniyah Smith, Evan Stewart, Moose Muhammad, Noah Thomas, like that group is going to score some points. Now, if they can't block and they can't run the ball and Wigman's under pressure, then I'll change my tune. But I think they should be better on the offensive front. And then on defense, like we keep talking about how great Mason Smith is going to be this year, and I think he is. But if I'm going to do that and I'm going to hype up the 5-star who hasn't really done anything, then I probably need to talk about Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, Walter Nolan, McKinley Jackson, LT Overson. All these guys are 5 stars on A&M's defensive front. Now, they haven't done anything, just like Mason Smith hasn't done anything, but it would stand to reason that those are pretty big, talented dudes who should be better on the defensive front. Corner's a huge concern for A&M. Huge concern. They added 4 transfers, and they were bad in the secondary last year, no doubt. In the non-conference, New Mexico, ULM, and Abilene Christian, that's 3 wins, and I think they're going to go beat Miami because I don't think Miami's very good. I will drape myself in green and orange and throw up the U all week if it'll help. But I think they're going to go beat Miami. So I think to go over 8.5, they're probably going to need to win 5 games. Probably win 4 there, and to get to 9, they got to go 5-3 in the league. Auburn, Arkansas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, they're as talented as all 5 of those teams, for sure. Now, at Tennessee and at LSU is a tough draw. But I think they can go 5-3. If I told you A&M this year beat Auburn in College Station, beat Arkansas in Arlington, beat South Carolina in College Station, won at Ole Miss, and beat Mississippi State in College Station, that's not reaching that much. I'm going over 8.5. 9-3 I have for Texas A&M. So that's your look at the SEC West. We will do the East when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. I'm telling you all summer long about Corey Barr. Corey, born and raised in Monroe, rose to national acclaim, Food Network star, beat Bobby Flay, but he came right back home to start his businesses. He could have gone to Seattle, Miami, New York, could have gone to San Francisco or LA. Nope. Right here in Monroe. Operates 3 businesses in Louisiana because Louisiana is important to Corey Barr. And people like that should be praised. And LWCC does that with their Champions of Louisiana campaign. If you know a champion of Louisiana, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. It could be a person like Corey Barr, a nonprofit, a business that's doing great things in our great state. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call Hudco Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2640.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Jaden Daniels meets with reporters. Brian Kelly on the SEC teleconference. We got Russ Mitchell returning. It's Wednesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's dive into the SEC East for sure win totals. We'll start with the Georgia Bulldogs, 11.5. It's the over-under. They got to run the table to hit the over. Look, Georgia's offense was not awesome pre-Todd Monken. He came in and opened things up, and they got markedly better. He's gone. He's in Baltimore. Now it's time for Mike Bobo. Carson Beck's got a lot of toys to play with here. Kendall Milton's a senior running back who can really play. They'd love to have Branson Robinson, but he went out for the season with an injury last week. Ladd McConkey's a good player. Brock Bowers is a superhero. Marcus Rosemy-Jackson's really good. Ra Thomas was a great player for Mississippi State last year that is now in Athens. So it's not an issue of weapons, obviously, for Georgia. It's just a matter of, can the quarterback use those weapons, and does Mike Bobo put him in position? On defense, I don't worry about him at all. Yeah, Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are gone, but they returned 7 starters on defense. They're going to be really, really strong. I struggle to find a spot for them to lose. I could do it in Knoxville if I tried. I'm not going to try that hard. I'm going to say that Georgia runs the table again. I'm going to give them 12-0. I'm going to take the over on Georgia's 11.5. Florida was 6-7 last year. Their over-under this year is 5.5. The plot's thickened on that a little bit because Cam Rising has been basically ruled out. Everyone on Twitter right now is reporting that Cam Rising is not expected to play. So that's a huge win for the Florida Gators pre-kickoff in Salt Lake City. Florida ran the ball well last year. They had two good running backs. They had a really stout offensive line. 4 offensive linemen from that group are gone. So is the run threat at quarterback because you had Anthony Richardson. Now you've got Graham Mertz. So that's not going to translate as well. Montreal Johnson and Trevor Etienne are still really, really good running backs. Ricky Pearsall is kind of a do-it-all wide receiver that can do it for them. As far as Mertz goes, he's played in 34 games. He's thrown 29 touchdowns and 22 picks. And he can't run at all. I'm just not a huge proponent of the Graham Mertz experiment in Florida. The defense stunk last year. Only 3 players are back from that defense. They've got a new defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong. He's 29 years old, which is wild. But look, they might go 2-2 in the non-conference. They might lose at Utah. They might lose to Florida State. In fact, I would bet they would lose to Florida State in Gainesville. They'll handle McNeese and Charlotte. But if they go 2-2 in the non-conference, they're going to have to go 4-4 in league play to hit the over. I don't see that happening. I don't love their trip to Death Valley. That's for sure. I don't love them against Tennessee. I don't think this is going to be a great team at Florida. And you don't have to be a great team to win 6 games, but it hurts when you lose 2 out of conference. So they beat Utah. It changes the math big time this weekend. But for right now, I'm taking the under on Florida. Kentucky was 7-6 last year. Their over-under is 7.5. Devin Leary might be really good. He was great at NC State, statistically speaking. They bring in Ray Davis, who ran for 1,000 yards at Vanderbilt last year. Their problem was not quarterback last year, and their problem was not running back last year. They had really talented players at both of those positions. The problem was they were among the worst offensive lines in college football. They were 126 out of 131 in sacks allowed last year. It was just an abhorrent offensive line. They've gone to the portal. They've got 3 additions. They got one from Bama. Got one from Southern Cal. They bring Liam Cohen back to call the plays. And on defense, they've had a top 25 defense in the country 5 of the last 6 years. Kentucky, to get to over 7.5, is going to really need to start 4-0. They got Ball State. They got Eastern Kentucky. They've got Akron, and they're at Vanderbilt. That should be a 4-0 start. Then the easiest path to win 4 more games and get over would be to beat Florida and Missouri at home, beat Mississippi State and Starkville, and beat Louisville. Sure, you've got South Carolina out there you can handle. You got a swing at a rival in Tennessee if you want to look at that one. But the easiest path to get there is Florida, Missouri, at Mississippi State, and Louisville. I will take the over on Kentucky, 7.5. I'll get them to 8 wins. Missouri was 6-7 last year. Their over-under is 6.5, so right back on that same number. Eli Drinkwitz not going to call plays this year. He's going to hand that over to 32-year-old Kirby Moore. And as I look at Florida's defense going to 29-year-old, Missouri's offense going to a 32-year-old, then I look over at College Station and Jimbo's turned into Bobby Petrino. It's just a wild thing that's going on over there. But Eli Drinkwitz is not going to call plays. Kirby Moore was at Fresno State last year. He'll be the OC. Is Brady Cook the guy? He ran around a lot last year. He's kind of exciting to watch. Is he a great player? I wouldn't go that far. Their best wide receiver, Dominic Lovett, left for Georgia. So it's up to former 5-star Luther Burden III to be their big play guy on offense. Blake Baker's defense last year has 12 of its top 16 players back. They've got 4 non-conference games to start the season. They've got South Dakota. They've got Middle Tennessee State. Then they're at Kansas State, and then they play Memphis and St. Louis. They could be 5-0 entering LSU if they handle those 4 games in the non-conference, and then they beat Vanderbilt in their first SEC game. 5-0 going to LSU is an attractive thing, but I don't think Missouri is going to be favored in conference play again until after September the 30th. You look at this and tell me where you think they're favored. I don't think they're favored at home against LSU. I don't think they're favored at Kentucky. I don't think they're favored at home against South Carolina. I know they're not favored at Georgia. I don't think they're favored at home against Tennessee. I don't know if they're favored or not against Florida at home. And then they're at Arkansas, and I don't think they're favored in that game either. So they're going to be underdogs the entire back half of their schedule, especially if they lose to Kansas State, who's pretty good. I've got under on Missouri, under 6.5 for Eli Drinkwitz' squad. And that may be decision time in Columbia because they gave him a big extension, but you get a six-win team again. Why are we spending all this money? Tennessee's over-under is 9.5. Of course, they were 10-2 last year in the regular season. Josh Heupel, very good coach. But those players that he had last year were elite. Hendon Hooker was an elite college player. Jalen Hyatt, elite college player. Cedric Tillman, elite college player when he was healthy. And they also had the number 10 pick in the draft, if you weren't paying attention. Darnell Wright, their tackle, got drafted 10th in the draft by the Bears. So you had a top 10 pick on the offensive line, best quarterback you've had in a long time, 2 pro wide receivers. That's really good and tough to replace. It will not be that good this early with Joe Milton and Brew McCoy and Squirrel White. It's not going to be as good as it was the first 8 weeks of last year. I'm convinced of that. They've got 7 starters back on their defense that had its moments of solid play. LSU had only scored 7 points in 3 quarters on Tennessee. But South Carolina torched them, and when the dust settled at the end of the year, they were 126 out of 131 in pass defense. I like the schedule for Tennessee this year. Florida, Missouri, Kentucky, those road games are winnable. I don't think they got more talent than all 3 of those teams. Georgia, South Carolina, and A&M all come to Knoxville. To get to 10 wins in the regular season, which would go over, they'd have to beat everybody but Georgia and Bama. And that Bama game we know is in Tuscaloosa. If they can find a way to split those, either win at Bama or beat Georgia in Knoxville, the math becomes a lot easier. But if you lose both, then you can't trip up, and I just feel like they will because I don't trust their defense, and I don't think the offense is going to be as good. I think Josh Heupel is the right man for that job. I think that anticipating that it looks anything like it did or exactly like it did with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt last year is fool's gold. Even if Tennessee has a nice year and goes 9-3, that's under. So I'll take the under with the Tennessee Vols. And the last one is Vanderbilt. The number's 3.5. They've already got one. You got one in the rearview mirror with Hawaii. It wasn't all that pretty, but you got it done. So now you have to win 3 more games. You got to beat Alabama A&M. Got to beat UNLV. That's 2. I got to find one more between Wake Forest, who does not have Sam Hartman, and the rest of the SEC. I think they get it. I think Vandy can get to 4, and I will take Vandy over the 3.5 wins. So, looking back on all of my picks in the SEC, and I'm going to mark these down at the bottom of our sheet, and we'll look at them after Thanksgiving. Bama under 10.5, Arkansas over 6.5, Auburn under 6.5, Mississippi State over 6.5, Ole Miss under 7.5, A&M over 8.5, Georgia over 11.5. They run the table. Florida under 5.5, which is crazy. Kentucky over 7.5. Missouri under 6.5. Tennessee under 9.5. And Vanderbilt over 3.5. Those are my picks on SEC over-unders. When we come back, we'll hear from Mekhi Wingo as well as Jaden Daniels, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'll tell you about FanDuel, don't I? Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from the spreads to player props and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Henniger, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, downtown Baton Rouge. Carl Johnson from the Beau Rivage is with us. Colucci is with us. Matt Humans is with us. And we got college football. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's hear some sound from a couple of Tigers who met with the media yesterday in Tuesday player interviews. We'll start with Mekhi Wingo, who will be wearing number 18 for LSU this year. And I think a lot of us realize that the secondary has significant question marks. It's very new. You got some guys moving around. It's just not very proven. And so the way that you would help those guys would be clearly to rush the passer. And Mekhi Wingo spoke to what this pass rush should look like.
We definitely got some guys that can get us off the field on third down. You know, a guy like Ovi and Braden Swinson, they're tremendous pass rushers off the edge. Myself in the middle, paired along Mason Smith. You know, obviously he won't be playing this week, but Jacobin Guillory has been doing great at pushing the pocket all week, and I'm excited to see us play.
You know, it's going to be huge in this game. LSU's going to have to get some pressure on Jordan Travis. If they let him sit there and go to work, it's not an advantage to LSU. It's a huge advantage to Florida State. LSU's going to have to win up front with those guys rushing the passer. And he mentioned that Mason Smith's not going to be able to play, and he kind of expounded a little bit on not having Big Zero in there.
I'll tell you, it's easier to know that he's not playing now than he goes down in the first quarter. So, but we have guys like Jalen Lee, Jacoby and Guillory, Jordan Jefferson that's really stepped up to the plate, and I think those guys will be able to fill the void. And as a team, we're just going to rally around each other and try to put our best product on film.
That's one way to look at it. Better that we know entering the game plan that he's not going to be there than we have him in the game plan, and we're kind of working around him as the anchor of the defense, and he goes down a couple plays into the season. That's one way to look at it, but the fact is that without Mason Smith there, you've got a little bit of a hole. We know how LSU plans to fill it. The question is how well does that plan work out, and Jacoby and Guillory is the first man up.
Yeah, Tank is a very hard worker. He's had a tremendous spring, a tremendous fall camp, and I'm really excited to see him go out there and play. He's become a much more vocal leader in the room. He's the oldest guy in the D-line room, so obviously he has the most experience. And he's just done a great job of stepping up to the plate, knowing that this is his time, and, he had to start this week.
Jacoby and Guillory was a 4-star recruit, was a highly thought-of player. When Jacoby and Guillory and Jaquelin Roy, a couple of J's with long names, were 4-star defensive linemen from the state of Louisiana, and they were guys that LSU just had to get, and they did. And Makai brings up a good point there. Like, Jacoby and Guillory is a very old player. He's the most experienced guy in that room. This is not like having to plug a freshman in and throw him to the wolves. This is a grown man they're putting in there. And there was positive buzz around Jacoby and Guillory before we knew that Mason Smith was going to miss time. Now, maybe the reason that buzz was coming out is because the staff knew Mason Smith wasn't going to play, and they wanted some people to realize that there was another guy there that could do the job. I don't know. We'll find out quick. But I would strongly prefer Mason Smith playing the game to have a fourth-year guy who's played a lot of snaps, that can come in there, and that it's not undersized or not inexperienced, is as good an alternative as you could hope to have. The question is just, how does it pay off? And hopefully LSU is able to rush the passer a little bit against Jordan Travis and Florida State. We'll switch to the offensive side of the ball now, and we'll go to Jaden Daniels. Jaden met with media yesterday, and one of the first things he talked about was last year as compared to how he feels entering this season.
My mind was kind of racing everywhere, trying to figure out the plays, the game plan, and also trying to build that camaraderie with the guys. Now I'm more at ease with everything as far as, the playbook, my teammates and everybody. So I feel 20 times better than I did last year.
Jaden Daniels has been in turmoil in terms of his comfort level since he got to college. You had, starting as a freshman, a COVID year, the total and complete dysfunction that was Arizona State. They just self-imposed a bowl ban over there based on what was going on with Herm Edwards. It was a total disaster over at Arizona State. And then he transfers in, and LSU's in a state of change because they've got a new quarterback coordinator and a new head coach, and the whole thing's new and different. So he has never really been fully settled in a certain place. And I think you can suggest that is going to help him, and it wouldn't sound too ridiculous. You've had craziness for 4 years. Now, finally, a year back in the same system, back with the same coordinator at the same school. While things have been moving all around him all these years, now it seems fairly settled, and that's a very, very good thing. I asked Frank Wilson today if there's a revenge factor in this game and whether or not the players kind of think about the fact that they lost to Florida State last year. And he kind of was non-committal on it, as you would expect in a coach in an interview. But Jaden Daniels spoke to how important this game and looking back on last year's matchup with Florida State has been to him.
I watch it a lot going out there, just to get a grasp of how they played us last year. But, we're night and day better on what we were last year at this time. Going back watching the tape, it's kind of heartbreaking and disheartening going out there and seeing how many plays we left out there, how we could have really adjusted and played better. But, that's what you learn from it. Now we're going in more prepared.
The offense was brutal in the first half, just absolutely brutal in the first half of that game last year. And it would stand to reason that, based on all the reasons I just laid out, that LSU would be in a much better place offensively entering this year and specifically this game. And Jaden spoke to kind of having the same guy at offensive coordinator.
The comfort level, the comfort zone, going out there and knowing that you're going to have the same voice, the same staff that you really went through the gauntlet with the first year, and coming back the next year, they know how you play. They know the personnel that we are, how we play. And you can really just sit down with them and take a deeper dive into the offense, trying to learn more of, all right, if we get this look, why are you calling this play? How are we going to attack this defense?
It's an old quarterback. It's a talented quarterback. It's a good coordinator. They've got a good rapport. LSU should be a really good offense this year. I don't have many reasons to suggest why they wouldn't. And that should start on Sunday. LSU should move the football and cash in and score a bunch of points on Sunday. They should. And as I said back on Monday, I'm repeating on Wednesday. We're going to go deeper into this game tomorrow and certainly on Friday. You'll hear the same chorus from me. LSU's going to have to score a lot of points to win because I think Florida State's going to score. And again, there's reason to believe that they will because they've got a comfortable quarterback who's a veteran and a really good player and a lot of guys that can really play around him. So that's something that LSU fans should feel very, very good about is that offense and that quarterback. So that's some sound from Will Campbell and Jaden Daniels from yesterday. Basically, we're done with media availability after tomorrow. Brian Kelly will meet with the media after practice, and that'll be it. They'll pack it up on Saturday and head down to Orlando. Haven't checked in on Orlando and specifically Tallahassee yet. Brennan Sinone's kind of been our guy on the Florida State beat, and I want to check in on them because just looking at the radar and nothing more, it's like I've been watching Weather Channel all day, but looking at the radar, it appears Tallahassee probably got hit pretty good by that storm. Hopefully everybody's okay, and it's moved right on through over towards the East Coast now. But we'll hope to check in with Florida State tomorrow and kind of get a feel for how things have been over the last 48 hours because we know how that goes. This part of the world, this time of year, it can be pretty bumpy. So we'll look to check in on that as we move forward tomorrow. We'll take one more time out, play some Take It or Leave It, and get out of here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I just mentioned it. It's storm season. But even if it's not storm season, we've got some nasty afternoon thunderstorms that'll knock your power out. We can fix that. I can't, but Boudreaux's Electric can. Boudreaux's Electric, family owned and operated by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux, just the way it has been for 40 years. They are a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide. Installing a generator is just part of the process. They will also monitor that generator for you. You got the kids out in the yard, they're throwing the football around, somebody misfires and hits the generator and knocks something out of whack. If you've got the monitoring system from Boudreaux's Electric, they'll go ahead and come out and make that change. You don't want to learn that your generator's not fired up and ready to go when the power goes out. That's not a great time. That's what that monitoring system will do for you from Boudreaux's Electric. And every generator that they sell comes with a 10-year warranty. How much you got to pay for that? None. It is free. Free 10-year warranty on every generator. Don't wait. Call Boudreaux's Electric. Same phone number they've had for 40 years. 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Call them up. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of Front to Back Boat Service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
It's Kate Voisin, inviting you to join me, Coach Todd Black, and Coach Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. This week's special guest is Struma head football coach Sid Edwards. Louisiana Prep Weekly, wins and 8s at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Looking up at that TV, ESPN Camping World kickoff, LSU and Florida State promo running right there. We are getting close to it. We're going to go to Tallahassee tomorrow, get a report on the Knowles, hear from Luke Johnson tomorrow as well on the Black and Gold. So fun show tomorrow presented by Rouse's. The only thing left to do on today's show is play some Take It or Leave It. Jacob Beck.
All right, first one here. The Gales ice cream truck will wait for us in the parking lot. They're supposed to be here till 3:30. Take it or leave it.
Shout out to management for getting Gale's ice cream truck. You just didn't trust your speed. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to wait.
take it.
I did just take up for you because we got an email from HR that said they got a couple of scoops left. Get down there. And I sent back from my phone during the segment, please tell them to wait for my producers. Why did I say just the producers, not me? Because I got off the air at 1:55 with 50 seconds and had 6 minutes with Sports Center at the top of the hour. Between hours of the show, sprinted down there, got a cup of ice cream.
Made it easily.
I made it easily. With ease. You got to trust your speed. SEC speed down here. You can get to the parking lot. I got a vanilla, 1 scoop with a little bit of Oreo on top. Knocked it out in the first segment. It was great. So I hope that there's some available for you all.
All right, next one here. Joe Burrow returned to practice today for the Bengals. He will start in their season opener against the Browns next week. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. He did not look great in the video I was watching. He didn't look aggressive dropping back. You don't want to re-injure that calf and then compromise half the season. Yeah. If he's got to miss a couple of weeks, he's got to miss a couple of weeks. It just is what it is. I mean, you look at what's going on with the Chiefs and the Chris Jones situation, and some teams may be compromised, and that stinks because every game at the top of the conference matters so much for home field advantage, but you can't rush it. So hopefully Joe is okay, but I think week 2 or week 3 is probably more realistic, so I will leave that.
Yankees cut Josh Donaldson after a myriad of injuries and bad play from him. Yankees waste more money than any other MLB team. Take it or leave it.
I will leave it. The Angels one-upped them this week. The Angels got aggressive at the trade deadline and traded for all these guys, and then they just cut them for a salary dump to stay under the luxury tax. Lucas Giolito cut. The Angels are so poorly run, it's shocking. To have the generational talents they have put on the field the last 3 years and never even sniff the playoffs, not even close, is an embarrassment. And that's the answer to this equation, so I'll leave it.
I was going to say you could maybe compare them to the Pelicans because they had Anthony Davis and Zion, but they've at least made the playoffs.
They have made the playoffs, and they didn't play together, and those guys are draft picks. These are guys that you signed in Ohtani's case. Good grief.
All right, last one here. Disney World. Take it or leave it.
I know a lot of folks that are doing Disney this week in conjunction with the game and making it kind of a big family trip. I'll take Disney World.
I'll take it.
I'm not a person who is going to spend my adult time at Disneyland or Disney World. That's not someplace that me and the wife are going to go. I'm totally in if you want to do that. It's not for us. I'm going to take my kids once or twice. Like, I've got my aunt and uncle and my cousin and her kids. They love to go. They go like once every year, once every 2 years. They're Disney people. That's awesome. I'm not going to do it that many times. I will probably take my kids once. Use kids plural as if I had to. I have one right now. We're planning on another one at some point. But it's not for me in terms of adult. I was very impressed. I went to Disney World twice as a kid. Once in 3rd grade, once as my 8th grade trip. The whole class got on a bus and went to Disney World. And I have some memories of those. But we did Disneyland this past April with the little ones out there. It was when we went to the Dodgers game. And I was pretty impressed with the operation of Disneyland. Like, they wheel you in and like show you what parking space you're parking in, and they get you in. There is not one candy wrapper on the floor anywhere. There are like people with brooms and just sweeping stuff up constantly. Like, it's clean, it's efficient. They got it rolling. It's just not going to be for me as an adult thing. It's going to be with kiddos. So
if you do go though, Epcot, it's great for adults. You go around the world, you just drink at all the different countries.
I hear that's good. I'm not a superb beer drinker that's looking to have like 7 or 8 different kinds of beers. You all know this about me as well. So look, to each their own. I'll go to Disney World. I'm not anti. I'm just not going to do it. Just me and the wife. But that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Catch anything you missed on demand. Appreciate JD Picquel of 1-3 Sports for jumping aboard early. When we get on the air tomorrow, we are talking LSU and Florida State. We are just about there. Matt will probably do a lot of that coming up on AFR. See you tomorrow.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.